Hi everyone. Okay, we're running short of time. So my name is Matt. This is Alina, and our company is Acceset. So some of you might have a slip of paper. You can log in to use our tools and just see what we are doing. So my company is Acceset, and I built this company to solve a very personal problem. My mom has schizophrenia when I was 7, and I didn't know how to explain this to my friends. My friends couldn't understand, and I go home, couldn't talk to my mom, and my dad also doesn't talk. So I grew up with a lot of loneliness, and one thing I know is that it's a well-established fact that most families, it's where the root of the problem lies. If you have good parental warmth, chances are you have higher emotional, social, and psychological well-being. On the flip side, the absence of family warmth will lead to increased risk of depression, drug abuse, as well as, like crime. So on this note, I want to share with you that if on the topic of personal well-being, there are risk factors that can affect us. If you find yourself worrying excessively, you are neurotic. It's a primary contributor to mental disorder based on Norwegian public health data. If you already have mental illness diagnosis, the risk is that you can get a second mental illness based on Danish public health data. And if you know anyone who has attempted suicide or self-harm, these are risks that carries with the young lives throughout the rest of their lives. So we are not talking about a problem, a one-off problem. This is a problem that affects people for 10 to 15 years. It's a long-term problem that needs a long-term solution. Some of us are lucky to have friends and family to go to when we are down and out. But for those who don't, sometimes the consequence and the damage is devastating and irreversible.
So this is a story of a young Singaporean man who studied in Canada and came back for his national service last year. So he suffered from depression, and he was struggling very much with transiting back into life in Singapore because his friends were in Canada and his family was in Pakistan. So he made known his conditions to his superiors, and they provided him with the correct medical support as well as counseling support. But unfortunately, 3 weeks ago, he ended his own life. So what was missing in his life was actually the friends and families network that he could have had. And I resonated with this story a lot because I struggled with my own life transitions in university, and as a result, it led to me experiencing depressive episodes that led me to a pretty dark place. But fortunately for myself, I had the support of my friends and family who gave me the support that I needed to carry on. So, on the note of suicide, there was extensive research done by a Canadian researcher who studied 383 suicide notes from the ages of 11 to 98 years old. So she found that most of them who killed themselves did not receive love or felt loved by their loved ones. And also, they expressed guilt. Some of them did not even feel that there was any hope in life, that they did not even leave any suicide note. So we do not want our young people to reach that state. And that's why our solution focuses on early intervention. And we do this by curating a trusted care network of volunteers who act as trained pen pals to write letters back to the people who write in to us with the tools that we have developed. We do this, let me show you how this is done. So a young person who's struggling will write a letter anonymously into our platform. And this letter is received by 2 volunteers, pen pals, who will then reply the letter with the tools that we have developed for them. So this is a close-up of a toolkit that we have developed to use for the volunteers to use when they want to encourage the young seeker. And they can use the different phrases to help them craft the letter replies.
We expect this to scale. So you have the codes, you can log in, you can write in your own native language, whether it's Thai, it's Chinese, it's Bahasa, whatever. And we know that when it's scaled to different cities to use, we are going to have a problem. We are going to have not enough volunteers for the people who write in. That's why we are working on gathering the data and working with the largest mental health hospital in Singapore to feed this into a machine learning platform and leverage on AI to do initial content analysis so that we can give some recommendation for the volunteers, because what we need is for the same given time, the volunteers can help more people who is reaching out for help before they attempt suicide. And so the partnership that we have at this point, we have some traction. We have a 2 million seed funding together with 7 other charities to work on technology to improve the life of young people and young adults in Singapore. Based on this partnership, we also work with the government, who has links to 200 student associations. So these are reaching out. This letter platform is reaching out to a young person who is studying alone, away from home in different continents. Where do they go when they need help? They need to talk to someone, and if it's winter time, they have nobody to go to, they can write a letter to us, and we will support them. And last but not least, so there's the research with Institute of Mental Health. We have also seen interest from the government and public institutions to come in and use our platform to support students and young soldiers. We have also seen interest from the private sector. Recently, AIA launched a mental health insurance platform, and you know that without a large pool, the risk is not distributed. It doesn't make for good business. They are coming in to work with us to see how we can control the risk of existing mental health policy holders, as well as reach out to more customers. I also want to share a bigger vision to this, that we want to be a digital pharmacy. Think of it as the Watsons or Guardian for mental health. You have an issue, you go to Watsons, you get something, you get a cure. There is something we can do for mental health. A lot of work has been on education. Oh, it's okay to be not okay. A lot of work has been on going to see a counselor and resilience program. But I think as a young person, something is missing. I know that there's a counselor, right? I know that there's something out there, but I know that I don't want to appear weak. I want control. And that's where a social intervention comes in, because from our research, a young person who needs help talk to a peer, and it needs to be a trusted peer. That's where we come in with the tools and the platform. And this will drive improvement like uptake in psychological well-being, but that's not the only thing that we want to do. We don't want a person to always be a patient. They need to be a provider. They need to have good lives and show people that for what it's worth, for my depression, I can be a positive contributor to society. And therefore, it's so important that we work on job placement and job training to give them the skills that can leverage their talent so that they can help more people. And this is what we are doing. We are hiring and working with people who is recovering from depression, who is school dropout, ex-convicts. We tap on their creative skills in web development, in UX, and in design to build our platform to serve more people. And as we scale our business, we'll hire more of these people. So this is the guaranteed, the portion in green are guaranteed contracts with our existing customers, and the portion in yellow are the contracts that we will get from the private sector. So this is just a sense of things. I want to share that this is a big team that we have from the last time. I myself have 3 years of experience building such tech platform. In that 3 years as a volunteer, I've overseen about 1,000 queries from young people supported by young people who are trained by counselors. But there are a lot of flaws, and I feel very angry, and I want to do something better. Elena brings years of actual experience in university campuses, peer support network to help with our operations, onboarding of volunteers, as well as building of the tools that she gave an example about. And Melissa graduated from tertiary institutions as a young person designing for young people. Our advisors come from different industries, complementary expertise, but I want to share that we all have something in common. We either personally have mental health conditions or know someone personally who has mental health condition. And let's face it, everyone is going to have problem at some point, right? But here's the thing. If today any of one here is having a tough time, I want you to know that it is your basic right to be accepted, to be loved, and to heal. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I love the concept. I like the passion. A number of questions I have, and same as the last group, come see me after to talk about financials. Before that, though, specifically to focus in on this concept of volunteers, two questions from there. First of all, these are not trained professionals, of course. They'll have had some training for you, but is there a liability element there? And second of all, when you are buying your, if this business takes off and you're buying your new house down in Sentosa, are the volunteers going to be happy that your firm is making a profit off of their volunteer effort?
Okay, so there's two parts to the question. About the volunteers, so if you are writing a letter, there is a T&C you have to kind of like check off. So that will like rid off of all liabilities. I think it's the same for all businesses. But in spite of that, we are training them not to diagnose. They are not your counselors. They are there as a pen pal to support you, to find out about your feelings and your thoughts, and to understand the risk, whether it's something that's worthy to see a counselor, right? I'm feeling bad. How do I know it's bad enough to see a counselor? They are there to journey with you. On the question about ripping off volunteer resource to be rich, I want to share with you that when we work with students, we don't charge them money. We don't charge them money because it's unethical to live off the labor, the free labor of young people. What we are charging is the maintenance, the improvement of the tech that takes hours. It's lives, right? Like career. A lot of people's career go behind this. We actually charge that to the corporates, to the schools, because they are the ones who need to pay for the well-being of the people they care.
Who you're charged isn't the issue. The issue is there's cash coming in,
Correct.
and you're asking some people to work for free,
Correct.
and other people to be reimbursed for their time.
So actually the value that we create for the corporations is not just the volunteer network, but also the data analytics. They want to know whether their program at transformational leadership and stuff is working. We validate those things. So that's how we kind of like solve the ethical issue. Yeah.
Okay. I want to go back from money and business and scaling back to the core of your business. You started out by saying friends and family, warmth. And then the next jump you made was AI-driven, pre-formed letters that volunteers can click and add things into a letter. Where does the warmth go from the person-to-person connection into a technical system? How does that carry over? How do you validate that your system can replicate human interaction and the warmth and the benefit it gives for mental health?
So I want to explain that it's not talking to a chatbot in phase 2. What the AI is doing is being able to do basic sentiment analysis, because you must understand when people write letters, they don't summarize things in 20 words. They may write it in 1,000 words, 2,000 words, or 3,000 words. The system is there to go through the mundane task of reading everything and giving appropriate, accurate summaries, but they are not automatically sending out these replies. The volunteers actually come in, look at it, customize it so that they can give the human touch. The human touch will always be there because we know that young people don't want to talk to chatbots. And chatbot sucks, right? They are not doing a good job. So people are still mentally ill. So I want to assure you that the human touch is there. And precisely because it's a friend and family problem, the solution needs to be human. And this is only part of the solution. Social intervention is only part of it. If they have a real issue, they need talk therapy. They need to go to the counselor. The peer is there to show them that, hey, your thing really needs help. You should see a counselor. And that's the pharmacy concept that we're trying to build for the future.
Okay, then after that, I see that you're quite young in terms of working with people. You have about 30 letters from users. Do you have any indication that your pen pal system has an effect on the mental health that you're trying to resolve? Is there anything there that you have indication for?
So if you log into our system and you play with it, you will see that for every letter, we ask you to put an emotion stamp and we ask you to put a slider. So the early indication of improvement in well-being is if every letter, over time you see a scaling up of your emotions from negative to positive. Now, if it goes the other way, that means over time you're feeling worse. That is an indication that there's risk, there's a need for professional help. And that's the kind of thing that we are tracking at the initial stage.
Just a quick question on that. How many letters does a person have to write before you can get an indicator of if they're improving or not improving?
It really depends. Some people like to test the water, so they start off with, oh, today the sky is gray and that kind of stuff. Some people they know that it's fully anonymous, they will go all in. So it really depends. It's a case-by-case basis.
Another question connected directly with scaling the company. So how would you describe your scale? Are you going for B2G, so governments, institutions beyond Singapore, or you're going directly to consumers? Because as you mentioned, every behavior is different. You're talking about the warmth and the relationship. But when we talk about NGOs, we're talking about a lot of bureaucracy. So how would you foresee our scaling abroad?
It will be B2G and it will be B2B, but I don't rule out the possibility that the G may pass it on to C. So one model we were discussing with school is, okay, I will charge you this price, and then they will transfer the cost to the parents. So we see that with Salesforce, some people will buy an off-the-shelf solution and then like recharge the price. So I don't rule out that this could be one model, but the government has to be our early customers. Because this thing, if we resolve, it cuts down on healthcare costs. They have the most incentive, and it's a matter of public interest.
How can you trust the volunteers? Because this is very personal and sensitive. And what if someone sent in a letter, there's no reply within a certain amount of time that the person sending is expected to?
Yeah, so the quality of volunteers is actually very important. We had to work with charity organizations from the start. They already have their own existing pool of volunteers who have experiences with like other kind of volunteering. So we need to ensure that they are someone with like a good heart, and they will take responsibility of the letters that they receive. Yeah.
And there's another part to your question, which is what if they go missing? That's a problem I faced when I was running the thing for 3 years. That's why tag is very important. The tag will detect inactivity for 24 hours. We will kick out the volunteer. We will post back a short transcript of the letter onto the community platform for other volunteers to come in, and we will record the inactive behavior so that we can deprioritize the allocation of the next letter to them and prioritize those who are doing the work.
Can I have a follow-up question? See, I can understand the model for school students, younger generation with general problems, but as an adult, this is very personal and very sensitive issues, which need maybe a doctor to some knowledge to deal with these problems. And what if it doesn't work? How do you know that it will work?
Yes, I want to just disclaimer that we purposely actually focus our presentation of young people because we don't want to pretend that we are adults, right? So we know our space is young people, but for adults, I don't think we can plug and play the same formula. You are right. Where we see an entry point is in spaces like the medical field, the nurses, in the oil and gas industries, the construction people, and also your firemen, your policemen. They all have a common problem. Their job is high risk. When it's a high risk job, you cannot turn up for work with poor mental health. Agree? And what some of the leading consulting companies are doing is they're doing transformational leadership. They're doing check-ins. They're doing things on the emotional well-being part so that we can reduce workplace injury. And I think that is a very interesting entry point for our platform to scale up digital check-ins to ensure that on a peer-to-peer level, if there is anything that is affecting your ability to be fully present at work, we can talk about it. There is something peer-to-peer that we can scale, but not professional problem like divorce and that kind of stuff. That one needs to go to EAP provider. That one needs a different modality, definitely.
What are the riskiest factors for your business to fail in terms of finance and in terms of social impact?
In terms of finance, I think all businesses are same. If we run out of money, we will go out of business. So in terms of...
It's too general, but like what are the factors that will make it happen?
So I think what we have done so far is we have focus on working with the government, on grants, on programs that are strategically aligned with where we are trying to go. And I think we are lucky that there has been an increased emphasis on mental health well-being, on children and youth, and that's our space we went in. We got the finances to be in business for the next 3 years. So finance-wise, I think we are covered, but I think the risk is really in product and people. And that's where we are very selective in terms of the charities we work with and in terms of the engineers that we work with.
Thank you, judges, for all questions and comments, and thank you, team.